On Sunday we joined Simeon in the temple as he blessed Jesus. But his words, of course, continued as he addressed Mary and Joseph, and Mary particularly. And these words are hard. They're not so much a blessing as a prophetic warning of the pains to come. I'm sure that many parents will understand the joys and the heartaches that children can cause, the hopes and delights as they develop, and the worries of watching them make mistakes and the pain of letting them go. But in Jesus' case, these words are so much more far-reaching. The hope of the salvation of Israel that Simeon had been longing for seems to carry with it both deep opposition and suffering. There are hints of hypocrisy being uncovered and a division that he will cause. Of course, we can fit these words into the end of the story in the cross, but for his parents, they would have wondered what on earth Simeon meant. For them, maybe a bubble burst. Their hope that this special promised baby, God's Son, would bring peace and joy and blessing and freedom that everyone would welcome and embrace. But here in these words, perhaps a dawning realization that this was not the path that lay before him. Salvation would mean suffering. I wonder if we sometimes can underplay the struggles and the sufferings that we face. We know that God is sovereign and that his plan and his timing are perfect. And so sometimes we can brush off the depth of suffering as a result. I remember one church minister when I was in my curacy who was a delightful man and triumphant in God's power and certainty. But when his son died suddenly in his 20s, he faced a struggle that challenged this view of God, and with a deep honesty began to discover how God was not above the struggle, but deeply rooted with him in it. We know that Easter comes, but only after the cross, and the cross was truly dreadful. But Easter did come. At the moment we're facing all kinds of struggles, making personal sacrifices to keep people safe and keep the pressures on our hospitals at bay as best we can. At least I hope we are. Especially when we have friends and family members suffering from the virus and are well aware of the dangers that it brings. I received an email from a friend this morning to say that both his parents had died between November the 21st and December the 30th. My brother, mercifully, is back home, having been in hospital after contracting the virus just before Christmas. Things are far from safe, but there is hope of a way of living with the virus once the vaccination programme has been completed. Easter freedom is not here yet, and we must go through the suffering of lockdown with grace and find ways to keep serving those in our locality who are struggling even more than we are.
When the year has been unkind and the hearts of the people are broken, when the winter is long and wild and life like the earth becomes frozen, in the darkest night, there's a light that shines. There's a hope that's burning in the shadows, like a seam of gold in a shattered world. There is one who holds it all together. If you're plagued by anxiety, if you fear for the future's unspoken, if you've nurtured your dreams from seed, but the harvest promised has failed or been stolen. In the darkest night, He's the light that shines. He's the hope that's burning in the shadows. Like a seam of gold in a shattered world, He's the one who holds it all together. See the light shining, hope is arising. Every sorrow traded for joy. Creation is longing, His kingdom is coming. So hold on, hold on. See the light shining, hope is arising. Every sorrow traded for joy. Creation is longing, His kingdom is coming. So hold on, hold on. You're the risen Christ, you're the morning light, and the hope that lifts me from the shadows. Like a seam of gold in my shattered world, you're the one